Jesus said, "Be ready." Good morning. Welcome to 755 Live. About 5 minutes of what Jesus said. We are live from Ironworks Coffee. We have a prayer time here every Tuesday through Friday from 6:30 until 8. Everybody's welcome. These Jesus Said segments are soundbite versions of the commands of Jesus, just designed to help us to put into practice all that he said with easy to remember soundbites so that we can live the abundant life that Jesus promised. Today's reading comes from Matthew 24, and we're going to start in verse 42. Good morning, Amber. Thank you for checking in. Matthew 24, verse 42 through 44 says, "So you too must keep watch, for you don't know what day your Lord is coming. Understand this, if a homeowner knew exactly when a burglar was coming, he would keep watch and not permit his house to be broken into. You also must be ready all the time." That's where the Jesus Said comes from today. Be ready. You must also be ready all the time, for the Son of Man will come when you least expect it. Now, or when least expected, rather. This Matthew 24 is actually in response to a question that the disciples asked. In verse 3 of Matthew 24, as he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, his disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us," because Jesus had been talking about the end times, "tell us, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" Signs of the times. Keep watch. Be ready, because we don't know when Jesus is coming. Throughout history, every single generation has thought that the troubles of their day were the exact signs that Jesus was talking about. Closer in history to our time, in the mid-1800s, there were several groups that picked days and said, Jesus is coming back on this mountain, in this place, at this time. In 1988, I remember there was a book that said 88 reasons that Jesus was going to come back that year. Didn't happen, and there was another book the next year, 89 reasons. Just a few years ago, back in 2014 and 15, there were some books out about the blood moons, and it was a very popular book, number 4 on the bestsellers list, but nothing really happened. Could it be that we are watching for the wrong things? Jesus said, "Be ready." He told us to watch. Well, to watch for what? Well, in verse 38 of Matthew 26, Jesus said, "My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death." He was talking to his disciples right before his crucifixion. "Stay here and keep watch with me." Watching is not just looking around. It's actually an activity. And he was asking his disciples to watch and pray with him. And then later on in that same chapter, Jesus kind of gets all over them and says, "Hey, couldn't you even watch with me 1 hour? Keep watch and pray so that you will not give in to temptation. For the spirit is willing, but the body is weak." We were talking about that earlier in prayer today. The analogy that Jesus used here is not the kind of watching that's like, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? But it's watching like a servant. What am I supposed to do? Understanding the end times is not so that we can put things on our calendar for the future. It's, what do I do today to be ready, to be watching like a servant? I think that one of the greatest examples of how we should watch comes from Isaiah 40. Verse 31 says that those who wait on the Lord, wait like a servant, shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Waiting is acting in faith. The waiting is where we renew, we take wings, we run and walk. But it's not passive. The waiting is being ready all the time to obey what Jesus commanded. And Jesus goes on in Matthew 24 to say that in verse 45, he says, "A faithful, sensible Sorry, I put the wrong verse on the screen here. Let me fix that. It says, a faithful, sensible servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility of managing his other household servants and feeding them. Jesus said, be ready. Watch. That readiness is doing what he said. We should be watching for Jesus, not for the Antichrist or for how bad sin is getting in the world. Watching for Jesus, managing and feeding the household, the least of these. Jesus said, be ready. That's not just planning for the future. That is also taking care of our responsibility as Jesus followers to love like he commanded. Today's Jesus said, be ready. How can we put that into action today? Thank you so much for joining us. Tina, appreciate you checking in. Amber, once again, great to see you. Joe Wynn, thank you so much. Such an encouragement that you're watching today. If this is meaningful to you, it really helps and would mean a lot to me. If you like it, if you share it, if you comment, we just appreciate your faithfulness, and it means a lot. So remember, be ready. Let's put that into action today and have an amazing day.